What up, dude bros? I'm Frank. This is a video review of a few Nerf Rival accessories. Red dot sight, flashlight / vertical grip, and the rechargeable battery. The red dot and the vertical grip are universal across the Rival line, but this rechargeable battery is specific for the Rival Khaos. That's of course because the battery pack is kind of unique here. This is the standard one with normal alkalines. This is the replacement that is rechargeable, so you plug it in and you don't have to spend a bunch of money, plus it's a lot lighter. This will be a long video, but I'll nerd out a little bit and talk about each of these components in detail. Lego, bros. Let's start out with the red dot sight. Included is the sight itself, the attachment mechanism, and the instructions. Beyond throwing in the batteries, it's kind of a unique component for Nerf. They changed up quite a few things. First, it's black, so it looks super tactical, and I'm hardly kidding with that. Although if you point your blaster at somebody, the front is orange. However, the black, some people like it, some people don't. With the Rival blasters, I do think it's appropriate. The attachment mech is pretty cool. It has this like wrench system that when you undo this flap, it loosens up. You slide it onto your rail, then you tighten up the little thing, and then it clamps into place, so you clamp it onto the blaster. A lot of firearm optic mounts are like this. I have a few, and I like them very much for my firearms because you can very quickly switch your optic from one gun to another without changing your zero. Because this is a plastic component, your zero is going to change on a Nerf blaster, but you know, this thing wobbles quite a lot, so the zero is not even like relevant. That sounds ridiculous to say when referring to an optic, but you know, it's a Nerf toy. It's accurate enough, and I do actually like using it. I usually say Nerf blasters aren't accurate enough to warrant sights or even the iron sights, but the Rival blasters are. They're very precise and consistent. Relatively speaking, of course, but there is some wobble because it's a plastic component. Not complaining, just pointing it out. The red dot runs on a few AAAs, which are installed in the front, as I already showed you. There are only two other buttons on here. One on the right-hand side is on-off. You push this to, you know, turn the sight on and off. And the other one is an adjustment slider, which changes your elevation in a way. It changes the reflection angle of the mirror inside, so it's changing the effective elevation of your optic. This is a red dot reflex optic. Now, how these work, it has a little red light in the back here, which emits forward. So if I'm shooting this direction, my optic is sitting this way. The little light is pushing up into the glass, and this glass has a special coating. This is universal to all reflex optics. The coating on this glass is supposed to reflect only the light wavelength of the light being emitted from the rear. So you can see through the glass, but then all of the red light which hits the mirror will be reflected in your eye, so you can actually see where the dot is pointed. In high quality optics, like for guns, when you look through the lens, it should be effectively clear. There's generally some level of tint because it has to reflect the red light, and that means when you look through, you won't be able to see that because it's reflected. But because this is a toy and super cheap relative to, you know, like a $500 or $600 like optic, which I'm referring to with the reflex and red dot stuff. As a toy though, it's fine. You can see enough. It kind of looks like a really cheap sunglass almost, like just a little bit of a tint there. So that's how it works. But does it like work functionally? Yes, actually. If it didn't have such a wildly adjustable elevation, it might get annoying because some blasters shoot, you know, differently than others. So if your rail is a few inches off your barrel, it might not work for Nerf application. But this thing wildly lets you move way up and down. So I actually like it. It doesn't have windage adjustments. You can't change where the laser is left to right, but really, it's not going to help that much. The Rival blasters in general are precise enough that if you're shooting a few degrees off your dot, you can just get used to it. So then you put your dot a little bit right of, you know, where you're trying to hit if you're shooting a little left, if that makes sense. So while it might not be zeroed effectively, it's still going to be really helpful because you can still put your dot somewhere and know where the ball's going to go, which is the point of the optic. Hopefully you're following me. Optic theory is super fascinating, but I don't want to nerd out too far in case you're just like, Coop, it's a toy, who cares? It looks cool. And it does. And if that's why you're buying it, then my opinion doesn't matter at all. Because coolness is a subjective rating. So that is the Nerf Rival red dot. Now to the foregrip / flashlight. Included is the flashlight, the grip, the attachment mech, and the instructions. This flashlight has the same attachment mech as the red dot, so I'm not going to harp on that a bunch. It looks like the exact same mold, like it works the same way. But because of that, it's plastic, as I mentioned, with the sight, so it's kind of a weak joint. And with a sight, it's not that big a deal because, again, like the zero doesn't matter that much. But when you have something big and heavy like the Khaos on this foregrip, it needs to be a tight hold. Otherwise, It's really wobbly. Like, I've broken this off a few times. Hopefully I don't break it, but I'm gonna show you. If I break this, then I can't review it, but it'll pop off, and that's kind of annoying. It's the same way with most Nerf foregrips, but those blasters are so light. When you have all these heavy batteries in the Khaos, it's a big, heavy blaster, so I can't put too much trust in that. But luckily, if you don't want it, you can pop off the handle and just use it as a flashlight. The handle can be twisted on and off pretty easily, so then you have a relatively low profile light. Well, only relative to this giant handle. It's still a big honking light, considering it outputs like no lumens at all, like none. When I got it, I put in brand new batteries, but after I tested it, I kind of thought these batteries have to be flat. Like, there's no way this is that crappy of a light. But no, I put in 3 different sets of them, and if you're like, oh, Amazon basic batteries are crap, I put in some Duracell, and it still lights up the same way. It's just a bad light. But I'll show you that in my super nerdy little comparison thing in a moment. Quickly going over the externals though. In the rear is the button, you just push it, and that's how you turn it on. There's no momentary switch, it's just on off. Although you do have a nice confirming click on and off in that audio. Like those little clicky pins that if you're doing it, it's fun, but if anybody else in your classroom is clicking it, you just wanna like cut their head off. Yeah, perhaps a little violent, but you know, throw your pin at them. Don't cut anybody's head off. Yeah, isn't it annoying? I know, you want to cut my head off now, don't you? Other than the button, the mount, and the handle, well, there's a lens up here with the light, but that's pretty much it. And as I already showed, the batteries are installed in the back cap, and that's pretty much a flashlight. Hopefully you've used a flashlight before. This one's only unique that it attaches to your Nerf blaster. But let's see how crappy it is. So I'm gonna compare this flashlight to a few other flashlights. Before I begin, I'd like to be really clear that I run my camera on manual settings, which means it does not adapt to the local light like your iPhone. If you shine it at the sun and then shine it in a shadow, it will automatically adjust. So if you use a flashlight, it might represent the same image regardless of the light quality. Since I run my camera on manual though, it doesn't do that. So when I'm showing a giant difference in flashlights, it's like that in real life. Or IRL, as the cool people say. Flashlights I'm using, obviously the Nerf Rival one, this super cheapo thing I bought on Amazon. I'm just saying inexpensive, very low quality light, not like hardcore parkour or anything like that. This, on the other hand, is a Surefire torch, which I forget the model number. I'll check my Amazon buy history. The model thing will be right here. But this is a sweet light, especially given its size. It lights up like a lot. And then I also have the Streamlight TLR1, which is a weapon mounted light. A few different options at a few different price points, but I'm only comparing this because this is not the only option. You can always zip tie, any flashlight you ever want onto your blaster. Just saying, so here's the comparison. Crikey, so we're in the outback waiting for the crocodile while it's sleeping. No, I'm just kidding. This is a flashlight comparison test. Starting out with the Nerf Rival flashlight. It's what we're here to see. Super inexpensive. This is Surefire. Streamlight. Woo! Time for some ghost stories. Just kidding. Now's the test where I shine a light in your face to annoy you. And to kind of illustrate like the annoyance level of this flashlight. Can't see where I'm pointing because it's freaking dark. So you can compare the Nerf Rival thing to the alternative. This is why Nerf does not make nice flashlights, because they'll get sued by kids who are like, and they F with people's like eyes. I'm down here, Nerf. Streamlight. Where's the bomb? Where did they plant it? Which is more annoying? Yeah, that wins. That's all for this ghost story. Stay tactical. Yeah, so this product does two things. First, it's a vertical grip, and it doesn't do a very good job at that. Like I said, the mount is just too loose. And the second function is it's also a flashlight. It doesn't do a good job at that either. So conclusion, if it's not obvious, I would not recommend this unless, oh, actually, now that I think about it, maybe a mallet or like one of those gavels if you just want to be a judge, like court is in session, sir. Boom, only good reason to buy one of these. And then it just, well, that's a super tactical gavel. So yeah, boom, tactics. Now I'm just getting ridiculous. It's way too late to be shooting this video. Getting slap happy up in her, but this is the flashlight. Now to the rechargeable battery. Like I previously mentioned, these two accessories are universal Rival accessories, so you can put this on any of the Rival blasters. This rechargeable battery is specifically for the Khaos. The Zeus uses a different battery pack, so you can't like shove it on in there. So what does this replace? Your battery pack, which is this orange thing filled with 6D batteries. So the battery pack shell is pretty simple. On the back it says it's a 7.2 volt nickel metal hydride battery, which is kind of standard. It's not a LiPo, but you know, pretty standard stuff for toys. Has a tactical carry handle right here, you know, for carrying it tactically. I'm just kidding. It does help actually pulling it in and out of the blaster a little bit. Installing this pack is the same as installing the normal battery pack. You just take out the other one and put it in its place, and it's really easy. The only important thing on this battery is the little recharging thing, which it's on the side here, and you just get the included charger, shove it on in there, plug it into your wall outlet, and you know, wait a while. Rechargeable batteries are the bomb diggity. D batteries are relatively expensive. Secondly, they're crazy heavy, and they're annoying because you have to like buy more and like throw these out and whatever. This is rechargeable, so you just plug it into your outlet and it recharges. And if you're a dependent, you're probably not paying your electricity bill, so comparing the alkalines, you have to keep buying these after they go flat. With the rechargeable, who cares if the electricity bill goes up because you're not paying it? The initial cost of a rechargeable is of course higher, but you know, that's something to consider. There's an equation of that. It's your initial plus your reoccurring. So after your initial, you don't have a reoccurring because the electricity cost is irrelevant. So yeah. And that's just going over cost. So now let's get into the performance, because the box actually says the speed of the blaster goes up. Speed is kind of an ambiguous term. Are you referring to velocity or rate of fire? I don't know, so I tested both. For the test, I did get 6 brand new D-alkaline batteries. These are Amazon Basics batteries. If you don't know about Amazon Basics batteries, BT dubs, they're way more affordable than the name brand ones. I have loaded up on these things in my test. The voltage output is the same, and the longevity is about the same. Other people have run better tests than me, but you know, I'm not even like endorsed by them or sponsored. I just freaking love them. Super cheap batteries, but I put these on my multimeter just to confirm the voltage, and I got a reading of 9.33 volts. Then after I charged up the Rival Rechargeable, I got a voltage of 8.48 volts. Surprisingly less voltage, but still more than the advertised 7.2 volts. That's usually how that works though, until it's depleted. Honestly, I went into this test kind of expecting this to perform the exact same, but a minor increase in performance. So first test was the chronograph. Does the blaster shoot faster with the initial velocity? Tested out the normal alkaline batteries first, and I got an average of 97 feet per second. That's averaged over 10 Rival balls, which is pretty normal. That's what I think around about what I got when I reviewed the blaster. But then I put on the rechargeable battery pack and I got an average of 101 feet per second, which is not a dramatic change, but a change, which has surprised me. A few feet per second though is not gonna make or break your game. It's not like you're gonna be sniping zombies at, you know, a dramatically further range or anything, but that's cool. It's better to shoot harder than softer, generally speaking. But then I also did a rate of fire test, and I did this by shooting 40 rounds, a full Khaos mag, out of each blaster. The blasters were completely unmodified. I haven't opened either of them, and I think I bought them at the same time. One had the normal alkalines, one had the Rival battery pack. Red is alkaline, blue is the rechargeable, and I let both of them rev for a moment to get completely up to their max RPM, and once I pulled the trigger, I held it down, so if it got bogged down or anything, that's the battery's fault, and that slows down the rate of fire. Test video here. Shooting 40 rounds, rate of fire test. Rev speed test. Rechargeable, rev test. So the normal alkaline battery blaster shot the 40 rounds in about 9.5 seconds, which is about 4.21 darts per second, which averages out to around about 253 rounds per minute. Generally, rate of fire is measured per minute, so that's 253. And the Rival Rechargeable pack shot the same 40-round magazine in a little bit under 8 seconds, but for the math, I just did 8 seconds, which is about 5 rounds per second or 300 rounds per minute. 253 to about 300 rounds per minute. Is it gonna make or break the game? No, but faster is generally better. Some people would actually argue for a slightly slower rate of fire because after the other guy has blown his whole load too quickly, you still have extra ammo because you're shooting slower than him. Now to the most important feature of the rechargeable battery pack, and the one I can't support my claim with. It's way lighter. I wish I could give you an actual weight. I actually just bought a scale so I could measure a bunch of darts, and I bought it knowing I could also, or thinking I could also measure this, but it overloaded the scale because it's too sensitive, because I can measure darts and the actual difference between one dart and another. They're foam darts, bros, so it's a super sensitive scale, but then I overloaded it with these big fat battery packs. But this alkaline battery pack is like 10 times heavier. It makes a noticeable difference when you pick up the Khaos with a rechargeable pack and the alkaline pack. Like the rechargeable one is way lighter. It doesn't even feel like a battery. I think a single alkaline D battery is actually heavier than this pack. My freaking scale, and then my body scale, like that I stand on to measure myself, is not sensitive enough, so I'm just kind of bleh. I'm not really ticked off at the scales, I'm just ticked off at myself because I bought that scale specifically for this video and I can't wait another 3 days to ship another one from Amazon. Well, Franklin, go to the store and buy one. What year is it? No, if Amazon can ship it to me, I'm not gonna go to the store. Pfft. Calm down, Franklin. Okay, but it's way lighter, and I'm just like flinging around, kind of, it feels like a deck of cards, honestly. It's fantastic. The performance gains, marginal. I mean, they're there, and it's nice that it shoots better instead of worse, but even if those were the same, I would recommend people use these if you consistently use your Khaos and you're gonna buy these D batteries like 2 or 3 times. I think the rechargeable pays for itself, but it's mostly the lightness. Like, it just makes running the Khaos that much easier because it's lighter and faster. Yeah, so overall, I really like the rechargeable pack. It is a bit costly when you're looking at, okay, I could buy 6 D batteries or I could buy one of these. It looks really expensive, but after you're buying multiple packs of the D batteries and then your performance goes down a little bit and you're like, oh, they're not completely flat, so I can't throw them out, but you know, that other guy is shooting faster than me because he has fresher alkalines. This, you just go home and recharge it, and it's so much freaking lighter. I know there's like 0.005% of my audience who like lift weights for fun and like are like mad ripped, and they're like, oh, Franklin, you're just weak. Do you even lift, bro? No, I don't lift. So when I pick up a heavy blaster, I notice. Yeah, that is specifically tuned for a keyboard, not for lifting stuff. Slight performance gain, slight rate of fire gain, you know, good for the performance stuff, but I like this pack because it's lighter. Boom, done. Summary over. This video is so effing long. So overall conclusion on the Rival accessories, the tactical attachments. The flashlight / vertical grip, I can't recommend to anybody pretty much at all. If you want a flashlight for your Rival blaster or any Nerf blaster, I recommend you go to Home Depot or Amazon and get any cheapo flashlight for like $5, $6. Get a few zip ties and just zip tie it to your blaster. It'll be a much better flashlight. I really don't think Hasbro will ever output a good flashlight because if they make it bright enough to be bright and usable, somebody's gonna shine it in somebody else's face and like sue. And that's just the world we live in. So it looks cool, but it's not super functional. The red dot sight is really cool. My conclusion of that is get it if you want it and you think you'd like use it. I think it looks pretty fancy, but I really like the adjustability of the elevation. Not really for like, oh, he's 50 feet instead of 55 feet. I'm gonna go 3 clicks left. That's a little impractical, but so you can put it on your Apollo and then put it on your Khaos, and depending on how you mount it and like, you know, the expected range, you can change it in the beginning of the game. So it'll actually work with the blaster. Most optics are just so far off of your Nerf blaster that it's not even helpful. And if you're looking through and your target's down here, you can't actually see it like the target. So it's better to just take the optic off. With this adjustability, you know, it's functional. My only real complaint is that the little light is almost too bright. I'm getting a crazy halo when I'm looking through the glass. It's such a bright light that it's refracting off the plastic. Because it's cheap plastic, it's not like really high quality glass or anything, that it's exploding and kind of like starbursting, so you can't really see clearly through the optic. That's really only under certain lighting conditions, and I'm also inside. I walked outside with the sun out and it's much better, so if you Nerf outside, probably not an issue at all. Mixed conclusion, and all my whining and complaining on this attachment mech doesn't really apply to the red dot quite as much as the foregrip, unless you're gripping your red dot for like stability, in which case it's probably not stable enough for that. But since you're not like putting any load on it, and the zero, like I mentioned, doesn't matter too much, the mount system doesn't matter as much, and it's convenient to be able to quickly just pop that on and off. That is the red dot. To the rechargeable battery. Yeah, bro, if you use your Khaos a lot, and I've been running mine a lot lately, freaking D batteries are expensive. Even the Amazon basic ones are, you know, you're still cycling through a few. Rechargeable, to bomb diggity, if you don't want to rewire your crap to a LiPo, like I know a few modders will say, well, people have been doing that forever, dude, just rewire it. That's more hands-on than a lot of people want to get. The initial cost is going to be higher, like I mentioned, but you know, if you run it long-term, you might be saving money. That is the battery pack. I've been talking for quite some time. Super long video on 3 little Rival accessories. I'm glad that the Rival blasters now have accessories. I was feeling a noticeable lack of, what's the word, tactics in the Rival line, and now it's coming. So hopefully they keep outputting new cool stuff, actually with optic and little light. Not sure what else you can add. If they attempt another flashlight or like a green dot or a red dot like a laser sight, that's gonna be crap because again, people will sue them, so they can't do anything fun and cool. Stop suing people, bros, then we can get cool stuff. I mean, come on, it's that simple. Imagine if they had something like that. Yeah, how cool would it be? Just whip it out in an HVZ game. It's so not funny to joke about, but I'm clearly laughing. If you give a Zambi a seizure, then it's just easy pickings like fish in a barrel. That's not funny, because people, like that's actually dangerous, but I'm still laughing. Oh, I'm a terrible person. It's too late for this video. I'm trying to get it out for you today, bros, because I just picked this up. Rushed in right before Target closed because, yeah, I bought this locally and not on Amazon. They're not even on the Target website, but I'll put a link to everything I've bought in the description box below when I can find the links, but I haven't even found the links. Yeah, but Rival accessories, that's my opinion, and hopefully everything you need to know whether or not you'd like to purchase them. Super long video, bros. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Stay tactical.